Ephesians 5:31 says, "For this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." When we think about romantic attachment, we've got to realize the impact of our parents. Without them, we wouldn't even be here. And without them, we wouldn't know how to be in relationship with one another. But therein lies the source of some of the problems we encounter in romance. Dad and mom taught us way more than we realize, and some of it wasn't so good, as if we weren't sinful enough on our own to cause relationship troubles. I know, right? But don't despair. Whatever you've learned that's not helpful can actually be unlearned. None of that stuff is written in stone. Hi there, I'm Dr. Debi. As a clinical psychologist, I've worked with men and women in counseling for more than 25 years, and I love the research on attachment theory. But I also like the fact that it is so incredibly practical. And I'm here to share that information with you. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the scientific theory of emotional attachment. Dr. John Bowlby was a British psychiatrist, and he was among the early researchers in attachment theory. He explored the impact of the mother-child relationship and noticed that in addition to their need to be fed and protected, children also have a need for very strong emotional bonds with their parents or caregivers. Dr. Bowlby proposed that we come into this world with an internal attachment system that actually assures our survival and safety in relationship to significant caregivers. So that means whenever a baby is distressed, his attachment system will motivate him to seek closeness to a safe person. And when someone has been consistently available and responsive to the baby's needs, even as negative emotions such as anger, fear, sadness, and hurt, they're going to naturally decrease. The child will be soothed and begins to develop the capacity to self-soothe by simply recalling the feelings associated with being comforted by someone who loves them. Based on these memories, a child develops a template for relationships that includes the beliefs that are essential for a secure emotional attachment. A, I'm lovable. And B, I can depend on others to be loving towards me and to help meet my needs. After Bowlby, a lot of other researchers have tested his ideas and found that the interactions between a child's temperament and the caregiver's responsiveness result in a more or less secure style of attachment. As I said before, our early experiences provide us with both images and emotions that form the template that serves as a pattern for understanding how to form relationships and how dependable we can expect those relationships to be. We learn about ourselves in relation to others based on their availability and responsiveness to us and how effective we are at getting others to meet our needs. Although later experiences can change our beliefs about the security of relationships, we will most often seek out people who fit the template we already have. Generally speaking, then, if we developed an insecure style of attachment during childhood, it'll probably continue to haunt us throughout adulthood, unless a later relationship, either with a human being or even with God, is established that provides a series of new experiences that help us become emotionally secure. Research continues in the field of adult attachment theory, with new information and more intricately defined models being formulated in more recent years. But I prefer to use this particular model in my explanation because it's so simple and elegant in explaining the way a couple creates a beautiful romance, as well as describing the various ways that things can sometimes go painfully wrong. Because you're created in the image of God, you came into this world with a need for relationship. Your deepest desire has always been for an intimate relationship with your Creator, as well as with another someone, a human being. Your current attachment style is simply the result of your life experiences to date. So, if another human being has been available and responsive to your needs on a consistent basis, you're probably in pretty good shape for romance. However, many of us, myself included, have experienced significant hurt and pain in close relationships, especially with the opposite sex. If that's you, you may be having a hard time creating and or maintaining a healthy romance. But that can all change for the better. So if you're feeling insecure, just think of it as true for you just for now. Because the truth is that you were designed with an innate desire and capacity to form secure emotional attachments. How cool is that? Pretty darn. You can assess your own emotional attachment security in a variety of ways, but one of the easiest is to take a look at what happens when you feel stressed out. How you handle stress and express yourself during that stress involves both your feelings and your actions. We all get a bit anxious when we're under stress, some more so than others, of course. Whenever you experience anxiety such as worry, concern, fear, frustration, even feeling trapped or stuck, then your ability to communicate is also affected. You've also learned what actions to take when you're stressed. Are you someone who seeks out other people to help you with your stress? Or do you pull away from others and try to handle the stress on your own? Securely attached men and women still experience anxiety, but at much lower levels. When they're worried or concerned about something, whether it's inside or outside of the relationship, they seek out their partners to help them talk things through. And after their talk, they feel less worried. If that sounds like you, you're probably more emotionally secure. A securely attached man feels confident in taking the lead in the dance of romance. That's not to say he never has doubts or anxieties. However, when he does, he talks to his partner about it. He's learned that it's okay to be vulnerable with her. She's a safe person for him. He knows that she'll be available and responsive to his needs. She never shames him or makes him feel bad about himself, but instead knows how to comfort him without making him feel like a little boy in the process. Now, this can get a little tricky for women who don't really understand the differences between men and women in this regard. A securely attached woman feels safe following her partner in the dance. She trusts him and is confident that he has her best interest in mind, that he won't drag her around like she's a rag doll or leave her standing there all alone. She also trusts that he's paying very close attention to God's guidance, as well as close attention to her needs and desires. She knows he's open to her input and to her feedback. It's not that he always does whatever she says, it's just that he's always willing to listen to her ideas. She respects his developing leadership abilities and asks him for what she needs when she feels anxious, and she can rest secure in his arms as he choreographs their dance of romance. Now, some folks have developed an insecure emotional attachment style. As I mentioned, not all of us arrived at adulthood with a secure attachment style. The style you currently have could be preoccupied, fearful avoidant, or even dismissing. Each has its own distinctive set of problems in romance. Many of us can identify a multitude of ways to make sure our relationships don't work. However, we're going to invest our energy in what actually does work. What works is very simple: being available and responsive to our partners in the here and now, and caring about how our actions might affect others, especially the person we love most in this world. So, what does that look like? A lesson on the dance floor? Well, for the most part, I think I'm getting pretty good at being available and responsive to my partner. Although I've become an expert on the psychology of men and relationships, the Lord teaches me more about both topics every day. Once during a dance lesson, Fred and I were demonstrating the swing step, and he was telling the men how to make it enjoyable for the woman. He said, "Guys, you just pay attention to how your sweetie's body is responding to the music, and then you match her." Huh? For years, I'd been telling women that they need to follow their guy to match him. So I was more than a little taken aback by his verbal instructions at that moment in time. I looked up at him and spontaneously proclaimed, "You're matching me. I thought I was matching you." He just smiled and replied, "We're matching each other." Now, I gotta ask you, how sweet is that? A perfect way to play out Ephesians 5:21 right in the middle of a dance lesson. As couples, we must learn to pay attention to one another's needs and be responsive to one another in light of the unique design and purpose given to us by our Creator. Remember, it was Christ who announced the revolutionary idea that husbands and wives are equal before heaven, at the same time recognizing specific roles for each. So, if we want to build a healthy romance together, we need a more complete understanding of our respective biological differences as well as differences in how we were nurtured. If you want to learn more, you might want to get my book, Ephesians 5 Romance. It's available on Amazon, and I'll put the link in the description below. Let's keep talking. This is fun.